Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and today I am finally back from my vacation, so I'm back home doing this recording. And so for this one, I thought we'd go ahead and talk some more about Lost Sword, since I really haven't had the chance to talk about it too much since I was on vacation, as launch is coming here in 2 days. Now, I've already done like a reroll guide, so I think for this video, we'll go ahead and take a look at the tier list they have on Prudwin, as well as their reroll guide, and kind of your targets that you may want to look at targeting within Lost Sword. There's two big things that you want to think about when it comes to Lost Sword, when it comes to rerolls. The main one being the characters themselves, which if we actually go to the character tier list here, you can see the tier list for all the characters on the different modes here. So you have the PvE early, PvE late, raids, and then just PvP. One of the big things is this includes all units, as one thing we are expecting that's a little bit different from other gacha games I've covered is we're going to start right off the bat with all the characters that the Korean version has. At least based on what we can suspect, because all their advertisements they've been doing have been including units that came out after the Korean version had launched. So there's a lot of really good characters that we can target on Reroll here. You can look at all the different variations of it. Now, they have a PvE early. Now, when it comes to long-term, I'm always focused long-term in these, unless there is something that's like gonna get you hard stuck in the beginning that you really want to have a good character for. And so the main thing I like to focus is on PvE late and raids here when it comes to this. PvP is really not too big of a deal in this game, and while there are some characters that are very good specifically at it, it's not the main focus for me, especially being an idle game in that aspect. And so these would be the two main areas I'd like to focus on. As I click back and forth between them, you probably can see more than two, but a couple commonalities between both of them. And these are going to be like the main targets that I think a lot of people should prioritize. The first one being Galahad here, which was introduced early on in the Korean version that did not come out with the Korean version, but was a meta level defining tank unit that pretty much will make most of the content pretty easy for you. Now, from what I understand, I haven't played through the game in the Korean version, I've just messed around in it. She will have the one area that she is weak in, you can actually cover that if you get a copy of K here on the tanking side of things. And so if you can actually get if you get a copy of her and copy of her, you kind of cover all the tanking aspects needed. Because one thing is, I don't remember the name of all the damage types. The one she's specifically weak to, the one that she's not going to be as useful on, she can cover in that aspect. But Galahad is absolutely like one of the #1 units that I think a lot of people should target in this game, just because it is actually going to be important. And she also fills the tank / a support role in that capacity in both of them, and is top tier on that. And then the other one that you can see at the very tippy top for raid, well as PvE late, and these are the two characters that I will be targeting on launch. You can kind of think of it similar to Uma Mamuste. I want to get at least one copy of each of these, except it's a little bit different. And that is going to be the DPS Tiamat here, who is a mage DPS who's all around good in everything, only A tier in PvP, which isn't that big a deal, as you can kind of see. Not many people up there anyway in PvE. But she's the top tier everywhere else within the game, and a great damage dealer overall. And then we have a newer unit that I haven't really looked too much into. She came out when I first started kind of covering this, which is Dian Checked. I think that's how you say the name. Overall, pretty good on the support side from what I can tell here. And then you have a newer tank, I believe, that came out as well, which is, or maybe not newer, but I think she's came out a little bit later, which is Lancelot, which is another one you can kind of pair with Galahad, I believe, or kind of use as your starter replacement for Galahad. But Galahad just all around looks cool and is still the meta-defining level in terms of tank. Now, one other thing you want to think about when it comes to the characters, because one of my goals is, because it has higher rates in this game, not only do I want to get like the two main characters I want to try and get, which is Galahad and Tiamat, I want to potentially get lucky, because we do get a ton of pulls within the start. At least right now, if you were to reroll on the Korean version, as you saw in my prior video, which if you need a guide on how to reroll, I will put a link to that in the description. You get a lot of pulls, and with the current rates in the game, you should be able to pull off, if you're going to be willing to reroll a decent amount of time, more than 2 units. And so there's other little units here that you can kind of sprinkle in that'll be very good. But then there's also one other little thing, and this isn't like a top priority, but it's one thing you can keep on the top of your mind, as dupes in this game are pretty important versus a lot of other games. You can kind of get it similar to Nika in that aspect. That dupes, you're gonna get so many pulls and you're gonna get so many copies of characters because of the higher rates. That dupes are kind of important in that aspect. And one of the biggest things is the first dupe, you can get what's called a card from it that has specific buffs that you can equip to your units. And through the dupe system, you can choose whether or not to create a card off that unit versus go up their dupe levels, just like any other gacha where they have like 6 of them. But the first one, you can choose to get a card off them instead, and there is specifically a tier list for that. So this is an area that I like to think about as well when it comes to the characters, is which one, like maybe they might not be a character defining meta on this side, but maybe they're lower here, but they have a very good card. And so they may be a very good secondary character you get alongside the main ones you're targeting because they have a very good card. Now we already have some that are already really good, like Galahad's card right here. You can kind of see they have an S tier. You can look at what they apply. So this one's a target applying buff equipped, or create a shield that blocks enemy damage equal to a percentage of caster's HP. But then you see this with a lot of others. Another great one. Another reason why I'm targeting Galahad and Tiamat is Tiamat also has a very good card on her own as well. But then you have a lot of other ones that are tied to a lot of the other characters here. All the way down to, I mean, this includes everyone, which includes like the 3 and 4 star cards as well. But this is one that we're not going to completely go over right here in this video. I'll have a specific video on the cards themselves. Just know you can kind of use this tier list to kind of get an idea as you're re-rolling. Hey, this character is not as good in terms of somebody I absolutely want, but man, they have a good card, so maybe if I got 2 dupes of them, or I get 1 copy and I know I can get a dupe later, very good one to have. And so if you actually look at Prudwin here on their reroll guide, they actually kind of cover specific areas you want to look at. Like I said, I've already covered the reroll process in a prior video, which I'll have in the description, but they also kind of break it down here a little bit as well. We don't know everything we're going to be getting at the launch. We may actually have more pulls because we're going to have extra stuff here and there. Maybe there's like a catch-up thing because we are starting so much. Like if we start with what Korean has, we're just outright behind them just by the fact that we started right in where they're at. Our only advantage being that we can re-roll with specific characters. So who knows how many pulls they may give us in the beginning if they're trying to actually catch us up to a certain extent. Now, if we just start with the initial launch, they actually cover those specific characters here that you'll want to target. The big one I would think of that is going to be Kay. Just having that tank is going to be really nice. She's kind of a secondary unit that I'd like to have, just because she can cover the weaknesses of Galahad. Anywhere she's weak, you can throw in Kay, and now you have everything covered on that side of things. And then you have your other damage dealers on that. The problem is with this one, to me, it's not going to be as important, just for the simple fact that a lot of it's going to get outclassed from the fact that, like, Galahad, Tiamat, and them will be coming not long after that just outright are way better than them in a lot of cases, like straight up power creep in that aspect. Now, they actually give you a good combination of characters, the ones that kind of work and synergize good together, which you have Tiamat just being an outright good damage dealer overall. And then you want to kind of have your tank slash sustain type healer. So they're mentioning Galahad, Dianchek, and Lancelot. My specific one being Tiamat and Galahad, which I will be targeting. Then they kind of go over all the specific units here a little bit and their kind of details here, which you can actually read here when they mention Galahad. A meta-defining character that enabled the wizard and archer lineups, which if you actually go down here to DPS on Tiamat, which is why I want the combo of them. Undisputed apex damage dealer, dominating with raw power. The holy unit leverages significant power self buff to scale output, and a bunch of other stuff. But someone that can take quite good advantage of magic damage. Then have Elisa here, who is right below her. She's just the in terms of the waifu level, in terms of meta, if you're into that on there. But she's not as good as Tiamat there. And then it kind of goes over the rest of them. We don't need to go over every specific character. I will do breakdowns of characters in the game as it launched and which ones I like and whatnot. You can kind of use this as a guide to get yourself an idea of which ones you might want to target. But my biggest ones, and I would say people should prioritize Galahad, Tiamat, Merlin. I always love my support units in games. They tend to be the least least likely to be power creeped in the future. You never know though, but they are the least likely. And yeah, that's pretty much it on those. I'm kind of covering that. And then you have the pet system. I'm not even too worried too much about the pets in terms of the rerolls, because if I'm not mistaken, when I was testing out, you don't really get too many pulls on it. And once you get your good character pulls, like you get good character pulls, I'm not too, and they have a tier list for the pets here as well. But once you get your good characters, you're just going to roll with whatever you get on the pets. Trying to incorporate that into the reroll will be just too tricky. They can be very impactful on the characters, but I'm not going to be as concerned on them when it comes to the pets. But you got a tier list for that. If you can kind of look and get an idea of what you get on your pets when you roll on them, you'll get plenty of pulls in this game for them as well. So I wouldn't worry too much about those. But yeah, that's pretty much everything there. Oh, why did I click back there? But overall, looking forward to the launch happening here. And just a last part to this, I am running a guild that will be playing this game. Now, it's on the same server that I'm using for like all my other guilds now as well. And so I'll put a link to that in the description. It's not within my own Discord. It's another community Discord that covers a lot of games and guilds. We're going to be semi-competitive in just being... you just need to be daily active. There's really no heavy competitiveness in this game needed. Just needing to be active to get all your stuff done within the game, which doesn't take much at all being an idle game. So if you want to join my guild on launch, you can go ahead and join the Discord that I'll have in a link in the description and just apply there. I'm pretty much taking anybody that applies that basically says they'll be daily active. So there's that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. If you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.